Our next guest, we've got Paul Bissonnette.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Now, Paul is Biznasty 2.0 on Twitter.
And
Paul Bissonnette from the Phoenix Coyotes is a good friend of mine, and he is on the phone, and we're going to talk some hockey here, right? How are you, Paul? You're on the air.
What's up, guys? How are you?
Hey.
How you doing there, eh?
What's up, boys?
How's it going there, eh? How's it going? Are you in Scottsdale right now?
I am, yeah.
We
play Vancouver tomorrow, another Canadian team.
Absolutely there. Paul is from Niagara Falls there, eh? We could maybe talk about... Yeah, we could...
I'm actually from Welland, Ontario, the Road City.
Oh, okay. Now...
How far is that from Niagara Falls?
It's like 10 minutes.
Ah.
Yeah, so I tell people Niagara Falls because Americans don't know where Welland, Ontario is.
You're right. You're right.
I don't even think Canadians really know where Welland, Ontario is.
True that.
So Paul, we want to talk a little bit about what's going on with Biznasty 2.0 right now as well. Biznasty 2.0 is the new improved Twitter feed of Paul Bissonnette. What's happening there? Tell us a little bit about your Twitter escapades.
It's newer because I got my last one. I had to delete it.
What happened there?
I said something pretty. You know what? I was younger, and I didn't really know my boundaries yet on Twitter because I just kind of figured out what it was, and I don't even think I've been on it for 3 or 4 months. And it's when Ilya Kovalchuk had one of his over $100 million deal rejected by the NHL. And I said, sorry, communist, back to the Soviet. And, you know, it's just dumb. And, you know, I made a mistake. So.
But he is communist, isn't he? Or
Tom, don't stir the pot. I don't need to get any more trouble here.
So you were but the NHL, you had to stop that Twitter account, but then there was an outcry.
It was actually my agent who called, and he's like, listen, he goes, you gotta gas this Twitter thing. He goes, this is just going to be headaches if you keep it up like this. Like, you're going to get fined, suspended. So I panicked and I deleted it. I don't even know. This was the first summer that I started doing it. I don't even know if the team knew I had a Twitter account. So they started getting fan mail from people saying, like, why did you guys make him delete his account? Like, you know, free speech, and started going off on the Coyotes. They're like, man, we didn't even know this guy had a Twitter account.
This is before it was big like it is now, right? I mean, you were one of the kind of spearheading the initial charge, Twitter-wise.
Yeah. Well, yeah, as far as, I guess, athletes kind of, you know, showing personality and stuff like that. But saying that, I don't play a lot, you know, as far as ice time. So I could see why a lot of guys who do play don't get on it, because I just get ripped on it 24/7. and I could take it, but I could see where a lot of guys who are, you know, maybe a little insecure and would, you know, find it offensive and get rattled by it, they wouldn't be able to do it.
There's online bullying out there.
Crosby,
What's that?
Sidney Crosby having Twitter and having to listen to Philadelphia Flyers fans use every homophobic slur and insult in the book at him on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
But you have fun of it. Like, you're known as one of the pro athletes, one of the sports figures that get into it more than anyone else on Twitter. Didn't you get?
I just like to kind of shit on people back. You know, they'll shit on me.
Oh, you know, you can't swear on the show, by the way, Paul.
It's not XM.
Yeah, I know you can't swear on this one. No, we're actually.
It is, but we also have we're also on DirecTV.
Yeah.
And radio and terrestrial radio as well.
Yeah, we're on the television too. We're on the television also. Whoops, I just.
All right.
Yeah, that's okay.
Are you think it's fine, you know, or?
No. Well, you know.
No. We'll just dump that. We just dumped it.
He'll get me.
Yeah,
I'm good for it.
You got his back.
So, but you recently didn't you recently get into it with one of your online? I don't know if you call them haters, but you got into it with one of your haters, and I read an article about this.
Yeah, it was on Deadspin.
Yeah, what happened there exactly?
Okay, so what happened was this guy would troll. They call it trolling. I mean, you're familiar with it. And this guy he's from Pittsburgh, and he would always, you know, come at me, and you know, at first it was kind of like harmless, so and it was cheesy, so I wouldn't even reply. And then he started getting more and more like vicious. You know, he started like bringing my mom into it, and like, you know, he just like mom jokes, like typical, and then like, just try to dig deeper. So then finally one time I retweeted him and insulted him because he had like the slick back with the, he had the tip-top tailor suit on, thinking he was a Scott Disick, so he's a Scott Disick one.
No.
So I kind of shot
I know
him.
who that is. I know who Scott Disick is. Yeah.
Yes.
That's the Kardashian guy.
Well, yeah, he's from the Kardashian
Yeah, from the
show, right?
Kardashian show. I watched that show. Yeah.
Yeah, he's overly slick.
Regularly?
But didn't you go like look up his criminal background check or somehow? And
Somebody tweeted me a link, and it was to him. He worked for the city of Pittsburgh, and long story short, he'd stolen $10,000 worth of outdoor equipment. He sold it, and it was kind of starting to come to the surface. Like, obviously, people were starting to ask questions like, well, what do you mean it was stolen? Where was it stolen from? So then it came out, he blamed it on his handicapped neighbor.
Oh, no.
So they interviewed the handicapped neighbor and all this whole clip. And, it came out that he was the one who, not stolen it, he just sold it because he had it in his possession, right?
Oh.
So I tweeted the link, and then everyone just started kind of killing him. And then, sure enough, another link was sent to me by someone about him. There was a lot, like a car lot beside a church, and the church wanted to purchase it, and he said it was his. So he sold this lot to the church and kept the money. So basically ripped off the church, and then the money went missing, yada, 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 and then he was in court for that again. So this guy's a complete scumbag, and it was just funny to see him get exposed. So then Dan Dedston picked it up, and, another hater.
So you got to the bottom of both of those situations. Basically, you put the research in and kind of figured these things out?
Yeah,
I wouldn't say research, because two of my Pittsburgh followers tweeted me the links.
Okay.
We're on with Paul Bissonnette from the Phoenix Coyotes right now. Paul, I thought maybe it'd be fun to talk about what it's like to get in a hockey fight.
Yeah, my favorite part of hockey. I mean, that's your forte, right?
Yeah.
Slamming people's faces and
weird.
just getting in crazy fights.
It's like declining, the fighting. They're trying to take it out. And I mean, it's
why?
The bias coming from me. Yeah, you know what? It's just, I think tons of it's media driven, because they're like, oh, I find they're killing the sport a bit. I know if like headshots have gotten big now. So,
yeah.
They're suspending guys, which I think they should eliminate them too. But it's just weird because 10 years ago when Scott Stevens would come through the middle and put a guy out with a shoulder to head hit, they would embrace it and they'd applaud him and they'd talk about it and rant and rave about him. And now if you do the same thing, you're a predator. You don't belong in the game.
Yeah.
Well, we grew up learning to play a certain way, and then when they try to change it so fast, it's hard for guys to adapt. So.
Yeah, I know. I understand. Completely.
The actual moment when you're actually just dropping the gloves, is that just the most exhilarating thing?
Well, I'd say the most exhilarating is when you win one. And, I mean, my first NHL fight, I fought Matt Bradley from the Washington Capitals, and I was in Pittsburgh at the time, and I ended up pretty much KOing him. And yeah, your adrenaline's going pretty good.
What do you mean, like pretty much KOing him? Like where his eyes rolled back in his head and he was hyperventilating?
No, I just popped him. I popped him in the head, and then I got him right pretty much square in the mouth, and I split his top lip open, and he kind of just dropped like a sack of bricks,
I don't mean
down.
to laugh. That's awesome.
Yeah, he's an honest fighter and stuff like that. Like it was just like one of those lucky punches, and like you said, you walk to the box, and the fans were pretty jacked up, and you could just feel the energy in the building. It's pretty cool. What
exactly? In football, so much has been made of the head trauma, as you referenced, and I worry about it. Retroactively, I worry what kind of damage I've done to my brain. Is that something that you consider when you drop the gloves now? I mean, do you aim below the head? How does that work? Do they talk to you guys like, hey, we know you're going to fight, but let's try not to punch people in the face anymore?
No, it's not like that. But, they've done a good job, NHL, as far as trying to eliminate concussions with, more better helmets, better technology and researching. And, it's scary to think about because you see some of these like ex-NFLers where they're doing brain studies on. And I guess I'm not very bright, guys. I didn't go to school, but apparently there's like a type of plaque that builds up on the back of the brain, and it causes like depression. And
well, it's the
I
tau
read an article
protein.
with that Junior Seau in it.
Yeah, it's tau protein.
Pardon me?
It's called the tau protein. They've drawn a correlation between this tau and the chronic traumatic encephalopathy and Lou Gehrig's disease and early onset dementia. It seems like the more tau protein you produce, the more lingering, long-term, terrible effects you
John,
have.
you've had some injuries. John,
that was a pretty good. I think we should applaud that description right there.
Well, yeah, I'm worried. I'm a little worried, because I led with my face for 20-something years.
But were you not taught to do that?
I was. Absolutely, I was. And that was the most effective way to hurt people. That was my goal, to hurt people and to move them out of the way. So that's what I did. And now they say you're concussed when you see stars. And I'm thinking, man, I saw stars every play of every day of my entire career, going back to when I was in 6th grade, so.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you how many times that, when you kind of go black for a second.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you go black and there's like a smell. People don't realize, like, when you get knocked hard, there's like this acrid smell in your nostrils. I don't know where it's coming from, but you have that smell. You have the weird dizziness where your eyes are kind of jumping and trying to refocus, and it all becomes part of the process. You know how to bounce back from that, right? Because you have to.
It's weird because like I see a lot of guys like younger guys leave with like head injuries and stuff, and I don't know if it's part of my makeup. I was kind of just learned to like, whatever, you got your bell wrong. Just
you shake it off. Yeah, and that's the thing. Guys stay down now. Like when I watch NFL games and guys stay down because they were hitting the head.
Hey, and that's not knocking them either. That's should have done it.
Great job by the league in learning and actually disseminating this information that this is something that they should do, that this should be paid attention to, but it's not something that we did.
In the NHL now, like, if something happens where even the trainer thinks that, you have to go to the room and go through a quick test. If you can't pass that test, then they'll put you under like the basic concussion symptom. And in order to be reinstated, you have to pass the concussion test that you took in training camp when you weren't concussed, right? Your scores would have to be very similar, if not as good as they were.
Yeah, right.
So it's good. They're doing a good job.
Now,
I know the NHL gets knocked a lot for, like suspensions and this and that, but like on the outside in, it's easy to criticize. But man, it's tough to control.
In hockey, fighting has always been a big part of the game, though. When I was a kid growing up watching hockey, they didn't have UFC. There was none of that. So the only time you could really see a fight on television other than boxing was hockey. You'd tune in, you'd be hoping for a fight. That was a big part of the excitement of watching hockey. Now, did you just get suspended recently for some sort of a thing, Paul? Do you want to talk about that, or is that something you don't want to talk about? Yeah, it was like a bench clearing brawl. What exactly was what happened there?
Well, one of the players from the LA team kind of he got a good lick on one of my teammates with a hit, and what happened wasn't right away, but after they got out of the penalty box, because one of my other guys tried to fight him, whatever. And I was changing for Max Domi, and as I came on the ice, as I was coming on, apparently he turned around because the whistle blew and they'd already started another scrum. So I came on the ice thinking that Max Domi was changing, and I sprinted over the pile. I dropped my gloves and I tried to get at that Nolan. That's his last name. I forget it. Jordan Nolan from the LA Kings. Yeah. And Max had turned back, so we had 6 guys on the ice. And NHL rules, if you jump over the bench to get in an altercation, or join, you get in an altercation or join an altercation, it's automatic 10 games. So there wasn't enough video to show that Max was coming to the bench to change. So luckily we had another camera angle where we could kind of prove it. So they reduced my 10-game suspension to 3 games. So I got lucky. I got suspended initially for 10 games, and it was close to $38,000 in salary, which for a peasant like me is a lot of dough.
Is that kind of a badge of honor, though, getting a suspension for fighting, or no?
Well, I think my heart was in the right place for trying to stick up for a teammate. So, and I think the guys noticed that and appreciate it. So, yeah, I guess you could say it's a badge of honor. I mean, I'm paid to do a certain job, and, there's pressures that come with that. Because if I don't try to get on the ice for that change and get after a guy who took a liberty on my teammate, I don't want to lose the respect of my team and my counterparts. So, yeah.
I love that. That's part of the game, right? That's part of the process in hockey. That is you have to go out there and defend your teammate with your fists. It's actually part of the sport.
That is amazing.
Cool. I think it's one thing that separates our sport from the rest, and that's why I don't see it as such a negative. I mean, fighting's decreased big time over the past 10 years, and the stats show that. And you see, I mean, did you guys see the brawl the other night in Washington and Philly?
No.
Oh, yeah, there was a huge brawl, and, I mean, the goalies fought and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, I heard about the goalies fighting.
Yeah, we're talking to Paul Bissonnette from the Phoenix Coyotes. We're talking about fighting in hockey. Well, you know that we're talking about that because you're listening. But
yeah, I've never heard of that before, a goalie going after the other goalie.
Yeah, I like it the way the goalies always choose to fight the other goalie, too. Does the goalie ever fight another forward, or the goalie always runs and fights the other goalie?
The Flyers goalie who fought Ray Emery, he's known. Like, he's a pretty tough guy. I mean, I think people are more upset with the fact that he went to the other end to try to grab the goalie who didn't really want to get involved in it, who has never fought, and obviously was probably a little intimidated by a scary goalie who's fought in tough guys before.
So he just skated all the way to the other end of the ice and started pounding the other goalie?
He basically...
That's amazing.
His quote after the game apparently was, they go, well, he didn't want to fight. What did you say? He goes, let's go. And then Holtby said no. And he goes, let's fight. And he's like, I don't want to fight. He goes, well, then you better protect yourself. And then he started wailing away on him. So, I mean, I think what the league wants is to get away with things like that. And I think that's when things like that happen, then the debate gets brought up. Oh, let's ban it. These guys are just goons. But you look at any rivalry in hockey, and you think of, let's say, Detroit, Colorado. What's the first thing fans think of? They think of the time that Patty Waugh and I think it was Osgood at the time. They ended up going at it. There was a bench clearing brawl. I don't think it was bench clear. It was a line brawl. But you think about that, and then you think of like the Habs and Boston rivalries. Well, yeah, you think of the fights and the hatred between both teams. So to me, to take it out altogether is, I don't know, it's just stupid. It's just kind of like, it takes an aspect of our game away that separates us from the rest. And you won't change people's mind on the fact of fighting, whether they like it or not. There's people for and against it. But like I said, it's getting less and less. So, I'm sure there's a way we could figure out to keep everyone happy.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, it's probably impossible to get rid of it in the sense that there's probably just so much adrenaline that eventually, people just have to fight at a certain point. You get hit the wrong way. Is that the way?
Yeah. I agree, Tom. It keeps guys honest too, right? Like if I know you can't fight and you're, a tougher guy, I'm just going to be a rat all game, spear you in the back of the leg, And to me, like you said, if they take it out, it's still going to end up happening. I think what's going to happen is that it's eventually going to get to the point where if you fight once, you'll be done for that game. Whereas now you could fight up to 3 times. The third time you're kicked out.
Do they change the rules a lot? I find isn't there like a new rule this year? They changed icing.
Yeah, it's called hybrid icing.
Why'd they do that? Why'd they change icing?
Well, that's actually not. It's not. It's hard because there's a gray area now, and we're still kind of getting used to it. But because guys would chase pucks down the ice, and they'd be in a foot race, and then the guy would get his stick in and try to like touch the puck, and he'd hit the guy's skate, and the guy would fall, and then his ankle would be the other way around his, behind his head, because guys were going on the board's feet first, and they'd be breaking ankles and separating knees and yada yada yada.
We're talking to Paul Bissonnette from Biz Nasty 2.0, the revised Biznasty Twitter feed, which is now up to 422,000 Twitter followers. What are you at now, Paul?
I don't. Yeah, like I think 460 something.
Yeah, number one watched Twitter feed from the NHL. Always something outrageous on there. You have a big online presence. You have a clothing line out now. Is this right, Paul? You have a clothing line. I was down there at your clothing line offices in Scottsdale, Arizona recently when I was down performing at the Tempe Improv. Every time we met in Nashville a few years ago, we after one of my shows,
it was 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah,
I've been to 3-year shows there.
Yeah, and every time I come down to Phoenix, you guys come down to the show, and then we go out and have a few beers there after the show. There, eh? We get her done.
Oh yeah, couple skeletons, you know. No, I will say this, Tom. I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't expect much going to your comedy show because you're a weird dude. Yeah. I tell you what, man, I was highly impressed. And every year when he comes back, I go back and I bring more teammates, and nothing but great reviews from all the guys.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh, look at that.
Better and better. Man, I was like, you didn't do it this time. The one time you came out and you just kept like shaking your head and staring at the crowd. And you must have done it for 3 minutes, which is like 2 hours of comedy time.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I'll do it for 2 hours.
I was crying laughing.
That's cool. And I didn't even realize you had low expectations when you came that first time.
It's just cause like you got like a different kind of humor, you know, when it comes to like the movies and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Basically, you gotta hit the bong before you watch your movies.
Yeah.
I don't smoke pot, so maybe that's why I'm not in that zone.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, man, you were great. Like a lot of like good topics. I still think the Facebook one, I won't tell it because I don't want to ruin it for anyone who's going to see your show. But the one when like you had to call the house. Yeah.
I just can't. I just go off on social media because it drives me nuts. Because we're tethered to our phones now. We're tethered to our phones. I mean, we use it. We're all on Twitter. We're all stuck on Facebook and doing all this stuff to promote our radio shows and our everything we do, our clothing lines. But then at the end of the day, it drives us all nuts.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, okay, tell us real quick about your clothing line because you have some great stuff and people can find you online, and we're going to take a break in a second. But tell us about that, Paul.
Well, it's just like funny hockey T-shirts, things that I guess like popular at the time. We do a lot of charity stuff too. For 3 years in a row now, I've done like essentially a homeless campaign where families that have like lost their homes and are going through tough times in Arizona. We sell T-shirts online, and then we 3 years in a row I brought in 105 homeless people from a Cass, Arizona homeless shelter, and we bring them to the game, we feed them, we give them some T-shirts and hats, and then they get to experience an NHL hockey game. Which I mean, it would be. It'd be nice to donate the money from the proceeds and stuff, but you never really know where it goes and how it gets filtered out. So I thought, especially how expensive it is to come to sporting events these days, because they got to pay our salaries and stuff. It's hard for people to bring their kids. So, that's something that they probably wouldn't get to experience. So I thought, why not do that? And, they get to, come watch a good hockey game.
That's great. Okay, where can people find that? At Biznasty 2.0?
No, it's at saucehockey.com.
Sauce Hockey, that's right. Saucehockey.com.
Yeah, Sauce Hockey, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Well, hey, Paul, thanks, man, for calling in.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah, thanks, Paul.
Yeah, let's get together soon and get some beers there, eh?
Yeah, hey, who's the other person on the podcast besides you, Tom?
Well, I'm here with John Ritchie, and he's he's we're on the Artie Lange show. I'm guest hosting the Artie Lange show.
Sound like Artie Lange.
No, Artie's not here today. I'm guest hosting, and John Ritchie is co-host. And
cool.
All
right.
That's what's going on, man.
I wasn't like chirping or anything. I just didn't. It didn't sound like him. I'm like, who is this?
Yeah.
Who is this guy?
I get that a lot.
Who do you work for?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for coming on, though, Paul.
Yeah, thanks again. Yeah, good combo.
Stay healthy, man.
All right, thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Good talking.
Take care.
All right, Paul Bissonnette from Biznasty 2.0 on Twitter from the Phoenix Coyotes, and we're going to take a break, and we'll be back in a minute with more show. You're watching The Artie Lange Show.
The Artie Lange Show, weeknights on Audience, only on DirecTV.